In the following videos, we're going to talk about the phylum Annelida, which are the earthworms and leeches, and also the class Osteichthyes, which are basically the bony fish, like goldfish and salmon. And then we're gonna finish off with the class Chondrichthyes, which are like the ones that have skeletons, like sharks, rays, and skates.
Okay, now we're going to talk about class Osteichthyes, which are just the bony fish. Unique structures of the Osteichthyes species will be demonstrated using my goldfish. The fish stays buoyant because of its swim bladder that's located inside its midsection underneath its skeleton. Next, you will notice the operculum, which is a hard bony flap protecting the gills of the fish. Then flapping the operculum allows the fish to breathe without having to swim forward, unlike a shark that has to be constant in motion in order for it to breathe. Now, have you ever noticed that a fish is slimy and slippery and you're like, ew, what is that? Basically, the fish surrounds itself in a glycoprotein, which when it mixes with water produces a mucus-like protection layer. And that layer is basically to protect the fish from infections. The bottom left picture shows a fish with a line drawn across its body. That line is the lateral line that runs across the side of the fish. The lateral line is a series of sensory organs called neuromass that help bony fish sense vibrations and water pressure and help the fish navigate and locate prey. Osteichthyes species have body coverings of scales. Two common body scales are cycloids and ctenoids. Goldfishes, for example, have cycloid scales. Cycloid scales overlap each other and are round or oval in shape. Now, reproduction for Osteichthyes species is a game of chance. The female, depending what species or what type of fish it is, can release up to 50,000 eggs. Now, the eggs will just float around until they fall somewhere. The males then release their sperm. Hopefully, one of the sperm reaches an egg to fertilize and pass on their genes. The fishes really don't take care of their young. The young, once they hatch, are like there to fend for themselves once they're born. Now, during reproduction for Osteichthyes species, water is required for the sperm to be passed on to the eggs.
Where do they live? In all temperatures, including extreme temperatures. They are found in tropical, temperate, polar, and brack water, or very salty water. What do they eat? Osteichthyes are either herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, or detrivores. Their food range from microscopic plankton to the largest marine animals. How do they breathe? The water enters the mouth, then gets pumped to the gills, where the gills will separate oxygen that is present in water, and CO2 out the gills. What are some common examples? The regal tang, permit, clown goby, and the balloon fish.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the phylum Annelida. And the phylum Annelida is basically segmented worms such as earthworms, leeches, and some marine worms as well. First of all, what kind of body symmetry do they have? And as you can see here, they have a bilaterally symmetrical body. See how it's right through the middle, both sides are the same. And they also have more than two cell layers, tissues and organs. And you can see that because there's the epidermis, the mesentery, the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. See, there's more than two right there. The body cavity is a true column, which is often divided by an internal septa. And that's usually divided by the mesentery, the septa right here. The body possesses a thorough gut with mouth and anus. They have a nervous system as well, and you can see that right there. You see the purple right there? That's the nervous system. They also have a true closed circulatory system, which basically means that blood flows through a continuous system of vessels. And that's why they need all these hearts right here. They usually have 2 to 5 hearts because they need to be able to push, that blood through the whole body, back and forth. And they don't have a true respiratory system. And now, how do they? That was their unique structures. So now, how do they get their food? And they get their food kind of like us, with through the mouth, out the anus. And so as you can see here, this is the mouth. It goes through the mouth, goes through the pharynx, esophagus, and then it goes through the crop right here, which is where it holds the food, and then it goes through the intestines, where it takes all the whatever it needs from it, and then it comes out the anus, with the waste products. And you can see right here too, earthworms. They have it goes through the mouth. See that and then the stomach, which is the crop, it stores the food, and then the food is digested as monomers are absorbed, and then the waste is released. So the food goes in one end and the food goes out the other way. A great design allows efficient stepwise digestion, just like us. And some of them are different, like these right here, the leeches. I mean, it's about the same. It's just that they have jaws. Oops, opposite. They have jaws. You can see that. So that way they can, kind of stick to skin and suck out, the blood. And then some of the aquatic ones, there's different kinds. Some have, tentacles that just kind of float, and then when things come by, they just pick them up. Some actually move around and catch their prey, like predators. And then some adults, they don't even have any of that. They kind of just they do the autochemotropic. They just with the chemicals, they kind of just mix the energy from within. And now that's how they get their food. How do they reproduce? So they can reproduce asexually and sexually. For asexual, it's by fission. It was just a method used by some annelids that allows them to reproduce quickly. The posterior is basically the back of the annelid. It breaks off and forms into a new worm, and so it breaks off by this right here, the clatellum. This body right here, it kind of where it's at, it would basically come off, and this part right here would fall out. That would become a new worm. And then for sexual, it's from this picture right here, you can see how the sexual is. Some Annelida species are hermaphroditic, while others have distinct sexes, and they reproduce by copulation, which is this right here. Two worms are attracted by each other's secretions. They leather their bodies together with their heads pointing opposite directions. The fluid is transferred from the male pore to the other worm. Some Annelida transfer sperm differently by means of using spermathecae, which is sperm storing chambers. And then, as you can see here, the clitellum, it secretes a mucus that makes it kind of just moves this way, and it makes a cocoon around the egg, and then that's how it starts to develop. And then you can see it right here until it hatches, in the soil. So that's the reproduction. And now, where are they found? So I'm going to answer where are they found and what are some common examples here. As you can see here, these are the different kinds: the leeches, earthworms, and the marine ones. The marine worms. So the annelids are divided into 3 classes: Oligochaeta, Heterodynia, and Polychaeta. Oligochaeta, which is the earthworms, right there. They live underground terrestrially in most soil and comes to the surface after heavy rainfall. The Heterodynia, which are the leeches, right there, they live near freshwater streams because of the inability to store water very well. And the Polychaeta, which are the marine worms, they live in the ocean, and they also have most of them are filter feeding for survival. As I explained on how they eat. So, and then those are the 3 different kinds. They're the leeches, earthworms, and the marine worms. Yeah, so yeah, that's it, and that's the phylum Annelida. And now you will learn about the chondrichthyes, which are like sharks and rays.
How do chondrichthyes reproduce? Reproduction in chondrichthyes is complex and starts with courtship and copulation. The claspers are filled with sperm from the urogenital papilla of the male and inject the seminal fluid into the female. Chondrichthyes typically produce few large yolky eggs and have a low rate of reproduction. Young are born or hatch at an advanced stage of development after an extended gestation or incubation period that may extend from a month in some egg-laying sharks to over 2 years in some live-bearing sharks. There is no free-swimming larval stages in chondrichthyes. Unlike many bony fishes, and newborn or newly hatched individuals usually resemble miniature adults. Approximately 43% of chondrichthyes fish lay eggs, including some sharks and all known skates. Is water necessary for reproduction? Water is not necessary because, as mentioned, there is no free-swimming larval stages in chondrichthyes. How do they breathe? To answer this, we will take a shark for example. Sharks can respire by pumping water over their gills by opening and closing their mouths. From the mouth, water enters the gill chambers and exits through the gill slits. Blood in the gill filaments absorbs oxygen from the incoming water. Gill rakers, which are the cartilaginous projections on the gill support structure protect the delicate gill filaments from particles in the water that might damage them. Because sharks have low blood pressure, most must swim continuously because muscular contractions are needed to circulate the blood. What are some common examples of chondrichthyes? Sharks, rays, and skates.